job.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I stole this title from Stephen King's memoir, so there's that. And then I'll read Simply a Murder after. So thank you for listening, everybody. Okay, on writing. Why do I find it difficult to write? I have not written since class and self-sabotaging because I know I haven't reading in 3 weeks. I have pieces to share and more inside to express, but I am scared. Not exactly of writing, but editing. Seeing the work again and again, forcing myself into making something toppable. In class, I learned that drafts are just getting all the ingredients out to see what you can make. That you're not even making food yet. Maybe that's the qualm I have. Seeing my writing through to a final product. Do I have a problem seeing things through to the end? Not simply writing and abandoning it so I have something to write for class. Doing the work, and doing the work again until I have something finished. Something finished for me and not for a course or for someone outside myself. Is that what's scary? And now I've invited more people to come, so that's scary too. I think I'm losing sight of why I did this in the first place. To explore more of myself and to simply write. As long as I do that, I'm successful. I'd have created something and shared it in a room full of supportive people nonetheless. I'd have done another scary thing and proven to myself that I meant to create. Damn, that sounds pretty cool. That's something to be proud of. I'm in the arena while others are on the sidelines, or hell, not even at the venue. I know what it's like to be on the outside looking in, and I don't want to be there again. I'm going to continue to be a doer, even when the doubt creeps in. I just forgot who I was for a while. My bad.
Woo! Woo!
And now murder.
Now a murder? Dun dun dun!
Okay. Simply a murder.
Ooh.
Marilyn walked by Henry's townhouse just before dusk, but she got smarter since the last time and went across the street to hide behind a tree hanging over the sidewalk. He appeared in the window, the silhouette of his hand reaching for the hand of another. He pulled her close and kissed her, his hand slowly moving toward the small of her back. Marilyn's chest started to heat up and she felt a headache coming on. Was she even breathing? She realized she wasn't and took a deep breath before deciding she had enough. Marilyn made it home, not realizing how she got there. She simply floated, unaware of streets she crossed or cars she let drive past. She walked up the stairs to her third-floor apartment, her keys already in hand, and her taser fully charged. The front door screeched open, reminding her that she needed to grab some WD-40 at the store next time she goes. Marilyn threw her coat toward the hook, missing it completely, but also not caring enough to pick it up off the floor. She went to the fridge, which was scarce, but she found leftover Chinese and grazed the kung pao chicken and veggies, also not caring enough to warm it up in the microwave. She strode to her bedroom, chicken in hand, to go over the inventory laid on her duvet. Rope? Check. A copy of his key? Check. Gloves? Check. What was she missing? Jesus Christ, Marilyn, she thought to herself. My ski mask. She laughed and grabbed it out of her nightstand. All she needed to do now was wait. 2 hours later, her belly was full, her body hydrated, and her bag packed. She walked back to Henry's place, but was much more aware of the streets she occupied. She avoided cameras and kept her head down, counting the steps until her next turn. She finally found herself in front of his door. Thank goodness the streetlight had been broken for over a week. Marilyn was grateful the city was reliable in its unreliability. She slid the key in quickly, wanting to act like she'd always lived there. Looking at the foyer and only seeing men's shoes, she guessed the woman had left some time ago. A purse and coat were both absent from the hall tree propped in the corner. She exhaled, took off her shoes, trying to make as little noise as possible. Reaching into her bag, she felt the cool metal of the taser and pulled it out, ready to begin. Marilyn knew which room was his because she recognized the scent of his Armani coat. Marilyn followed her nose to the bedroom, its door ajar and welcoming. She opened the door further and noticed that his didn't screech at all. He also didn't wake from his slumber. Maybe this would be easier than she thought, exchanging the taser for the rope. She made her way to his side and wrapped the rope around his neck, pulling hard on the fibers. He woke up, of course, but she was expecting this. She pulled tighter, hearing his throat gargle and sputter, gasping for his last breaths. Thank goodness he was facing away from her. Merlin didn't much care for violence. His body started to go limp, but Marilyn was no quitter and needed to see this through to the end. She couldn't grip any tighter, so she simply waited patiently until she was sure he was expired. She unraveled the rope from his corpse and stuffed it back into her bag, went downstairs, put on her shoes, and went home. Marilyn turned on the shower and waited for it to get the perfect scalding temperature to put her at ease. She crawled into bed and quickly fell asleep. Maybe this is what her therapist meant when she suggested Marilyn step back into her power. Thank you. It's been a while.
Yeah. It's good to have you again.
Thank you.
What do you have for us?
Yeah, this is a piece I wrote for class. We were instructed to write a monologue, so I thought I wrote a monologue from the view of a child hearing about their parents getting a divorce. This couch is so soft, I almost disappeared completely inside the cushions. I hear my mom's words as a distant mumble as she tells me her and Dad are getting a divorce. Dad looks at me like he's trying to solve a puzzle. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time he's looked at me that way. Mom's voice is clearer now, more focused as she says, "We will always love you. This has nothing to do with you." I'm sure she meant to add some sort of comfort, but it was a stupid thing to say, as if I haven't heard them yelling these past few years. Their relationship deteriorating, passing like ships in the night as they shoot from their cannons. They used to stop yelling when I came in the room, plaster on their smiles, and look at me sympathetically. But eventually, they got so wrapped in their bullshit that hiding their hatred became an afterthought. So I was over Karina's house more, staying after school longer, and going to my room earlier. I guess in some ways I thought if I weren't there that I wouldn't have to hear them arguing, but also perhaps if I was there, they would argue more. If I'm invisible, that's one less thing for them to argue about. But of course, the neighbors started to give us looks when we left the house. Pity isn't how I would describe it, but that's the only word I have for now. We live in a duplex and the walls are gum wrapper thin. It's mostly embarrassing because they argue over the dumbest things, like forgetting to take out the trash or emptying the dishwasher. Is this what adults do? Is this what I have to look forward to? My dad just nods his head, pretending to show concern. He's never really had much to say. He just floats around until something snaps him out of it, usually a command from Mom. I don't think he likes having a family. He just likes it for the aesthetic, like owning a dog, promising to take care of us, but eventually he forgets to pick up the shit in the yard. He's on the edge of his seat now that I'm really looking at him, like he'll bolt as soon as the conversation is over. Meanwhile, Mom is wringing her hands, trying to hold it together, eyes darting between my face and his. One last task she has to deal with before she can let herself collapse. I notice perhaps for the first time how many more lines she has on her face, how her eyes are less blue than I remember. I start to feel guilty for not helping out more and taking more off her plate. The guilt starts to get heavier in my chest when I hear her say, "You will stay with me while your father finds a place to live." I would ask where he's staying in the meantime, but I don't have the energy to feign interest anymore. I don't think any of us do. We just grew apart, and that's what happens sometimes. We will never stop loving you, Mom adds. I almost laugh out loud, but stop myself, thinking that's too harsh. What I want to say is, I knew this was coming. In fact, I hoped for it. To put us all out of our misery, because in my experience, things never end quickly. It's usually a slow burn, and I want this to be snuffed out. Shortest pieces. I'm gonna switch the order though.
It's your world, we're just living.
Thank you very much.
So which week, you're gonna read Devour first?
Yes, I will.
Oh.
It's sort of like a little snippet.
Ooh.
It's a teaser.
I'll get to it.
Snippet.
Yeah.
Of ants eating an apple. And then the future is about a woman contemplating her future.
Oh.
Here we go. Okay. Devour. The apple fell from the tree and onto the grass below. Its red flesh brushed against a rock on the way down and formed a gash next to the stem. The wind carried the apple scent to a nearby anthill. They scurried and followed one another to the source of their next meal. Ravenous but organized, they made their way to the apple as their feelers guided them to the open wound. One ant began, however small, to inject his pincers into the forest interior, white from the sunshine and bright like a lighthouse. Soon all of the ant friends climbed on top of the sphere and ate their way to the core. The sky turned midnight dark like the seas, the apple no longer, and the ant's appetites no longer either. So that's that one.
Wow! Woo! Is there a longer version of that? You said snippet.
I did say snippet, yeah. That was it. Yeah, that was it. There wasn't anything longer.
That was it. More to come.
Right, from the ants. This one's called The Future. I wrote this in a previous writing class I had a couple years ago. Okay. Maria sits under the tree in her backyard. She has no idea what it's called scientifically, so she just calls it tree. She visits this tree on New Year's Eve like every year, but this year she is going to be completely changed. It's a senior year of high school and she must pick her major. She can't, of course, because that required walking to work. Maria doesn't want that. She wants to travel and see even more exotic trees and even more exotic places. She dreams beneath the tree but never whispers her desires. Her mom thinks she would be a good lawyer because she's on the debate team, and her dad thinks she would be whatever she wants to be. But what Maria wants is to want one thing, one path that will tie everything in a neat little bow, so she can finally begin her life. For now, she sits thinking about her counselor meeting on Friday, and suddenly having a college in mind, a vocation in mind, a major to change 4 times during her college career. She thinks it's all nonsense, but she only shares her feelings with Danny, her best friend, who eats Oreos with her while watching the occasional dating show. What Maria can't admit, can't reveal to herself, is that her biggest fear is that she's ordinary, nobody in particular on the path to a mediocre life.